So in this video, I'm going to show you how you would set up a detective mystery. You can do a murder mystery, or it can be a detective mystery where the detective is trying to find something or something mysterious happens, etc. This one I purchased in a box and got permission from the company to use with my classes. And I put it on Google Sites this year because I wanted it to be digital. And so this is a good way to show you how you too can do this. You could do a mystery with any subject. I am going to write my own and make my own for the Edgar Allan Poe short story, one of his detective mystery short stories. I'm going to work on that this summer. But this is the first one that I made digital that my students played, and they really enjoyed it. So the difference between a detective mystery and an escape room is that there are no puzzles. There might be some codes and some shift codes, but other than that, there are no puzzles. What you have instead is a lot of fun evidence to read and sort through to try to find the mystery, the answer to the mystery. So I made a homepage first, and on the homepage, I gave them the scenario and set the scene, and then I explained to them how to play the game. And once they're ready, they click this picture of envelopes to go to the first piece of evidence that they're supposed to look at. And it has to do with shift coding. It's also called a Caesar cipher. And this explains to the students exactly what a shift code is and lets them practice with the shift code. And then this is their first piece of evidence. The cool thing about putting something like this digitally instead of tangible things that the kids can touch at a table together is that if you do it where the kids can touch the evidence and look at the evidence, only one student at a time can look at a piece of evidence, and that's kind of hard. So if you do it digitally, then they all have their computers open and they can open all the evidence, and any number of the students can be looking at each piece of evidence at the same time, which is really great for a game like this. They can leave the evidence open on their computers as they're looking at all the different evidence. So this page tells them after they've practiced the shift coding and they have read and looked at the evidence from this first letter, then they are to click on the evidence board to open the evidence room. The evidence room has a lot of evidence on it. You can set yours up any way you want to. Any grade level could do something fun like this. You just need to use your imagination, and it can be for anything that you teach. If you're trying to teach a scientific concept, like let's say you're trying to teach the human cell, you might do it through pieces of evidence and the students have to solve a mystery about that, or a math concept. This can be so creative and open to anything. It will take a while to create, but once you've created it, you'll have it for forever, and the students will really become engaged in this and learn a lot. This I have used for nonfiction standards, for reading pieces of nonfiction and analyzing pieces of nonfiction. And they have to read and analyze so many different genres in this that it's amazing. Okay, so here's the evidence room. There's all kinds of cool different genres of evidence. I have envelopes, and it has shift codes on the envelopes, and it has pictures, and it has flyers, and it has newspaper articles. It has packets with information on it. It has pictures that they need to look at. So it has emails. Once they have looked at all of this evidence, part of the mystery that they have to solve, there are 3 more pieces of important evidence that they have to get to in order to find out who the murderer is. And it's locked by a 3-number lock. So first they need to figure out, by looking at all this evidence, what those 3 numbers would be. Once they think they have those numbers, they would click on this pouch, and it takes them to a Google form, and you've used this Google form before, and they would put the answer in the Google form and hit next. And if they are correct, it tells them to go to this link and look at what was inside the pouch. So here's the evidences inside the pouch, and as you can tell, it takes them back to my Google sites. So they would open these pieces of evidence, and here is the dead person's will and etc. And then they can also go back to the evidence room, or they can go back to the first mysterious letter. This tells them when they're ready to solve the case, they go to the evidence room, and they are to click on the picture of the detective, the image of the detective, and this tells them that as well. And so when they click on the image of the detective, then it takes them to one last Google form where they put in whether or not, they do put in the answer to who killed Nick. And when they get that correct, they have 2 more artifacts to look at after the murder was done. So this is how you would take the same concept of an escape room and use everything that you learned to make artifacts and put those artifacts on a Google Sites and create a really fun detective mystery for anything that you teach.